right, here we go for the production notes for Too Hip for Heaven. Hopefully you checked out the track and hopefully you like the track. I don't know. That's not a prerequisite for watching this video, but yeah, so this song, like most of my songs, starts off with an acoustic guitar and some lyrical ideas. This particular song started with the lyric "Too Hip for Heaven," or this idea of it was somebody I saw walking in a parking lot somewhere, and they almost walked into me because they were stuck on their phone. They were just walking straight into me, and I sort of made this comment to myself that oh, this guy's too cool for school, too hip for heaven. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And so it kind of built from there lyrically. And then, I put it to acoustic guitar, and it went a few different ways. One way will end up on the acoustic version of the song that'll go on sort of a part two of the upcoming new album. And it's very folky, kind of just a backbeat 4/4 basic alternative country folk type song. But the way that I wanted to record it with my band was a little funkier, and I kind of had this funky feel to it, but I didn't know that I liked it. And I didn't really like it when I was playing it by myself, but I did like kind of a demo and passed it around to my band, um, and my drummer called me one night, and Miles, and he's like, hey, I got kind of this idea. I don't know if it's going to work, and I think he put it together maybe on like an electronic sample thing or something, just to kind of like build a pattern. And he played this drum pattern for me over the phone, and it changed everything. I was like, oh my God, yeah, that's perfect. It's totally perfect. Now I love the song. It's got to be that though. Like, it's got to be that pattern. So most of the rest of the attack for the song, or the approach, was based on that drum pattern really being super awesome. So I'll play you the raw drum track. This was the pattern. Obviously, I've run everything through some plugins and stuff, so it's not super raw. But so this was the pattern that he kind of played me over the phone, and I think even when we went into the session to record, he was like, maybe I should just go straight with them. No, you can't. It's got to be this pattern, And so I really liked that pattern, and I kind of did some production on it and sent it through some plugins and stuff like that, like some typical stuff you do with drums. Put some gates on the kick and the toms and stuff like that, and then ran the whole thing through some parallel compression. And for the parallel compression, I'm actually using a Waves Abbey Road plugin, which is super cool. So when you do that, then you get kind of that room sound, a little more of the reverb going on, a little more space to the drums. So the first thing that appeared for the song was basically just the acoustic guitar and the drums, and those together make up most of what you're hearing when the song starts. And then after that, it was trying to figure out good bass lines and guitar additive stuff. And the bass line, we threw around bunches of ideas for it. Lyman's a great bassist, and he threw all kinds of different ideas down, and I kept being like, oh, it's just not quite what it should be. It's not quite there. It doesn't have quite the right feel. And finally, he's like, hey, you want to just like hop on Zoom and like go through a recording session? And so we did, and remotely, he lives a few hours away, and we did kind of a remote bass recording session, and got a track down that I really dug. And so he sent me tracks for that, and it's kind of the same scenario where I took the tracks and cleaned them up a little bit and sent them through. I ended up sending them through Ascend and putting some like effects on them and stuff, and then I didn't really like it. So I just kind of went straight with it. So then what comes out of that is the rest of what you hear at the beginning. So sweet little bass line, groovy, rolling little bass runs. So yeah, once that was all set, then sent it to Cameron for guitar parts, and he came up with a kind of a rhythm part that came pretty easily to him, and it sent it back kind of in sections all together that you're hearing. So I really dig that, the tremolo part. It's sweet. And then when it gets to the chorus, I'll just solo this out a little bit by itself because it gets funky and fun when we get to the chorus for the guitar parts. And I asked him to do this part. It's almost like one measure of a reggae style beat, and then kind of talked through doing this walk-up thing. So we finally locked in the guitars and came to a conclusion with some of the lead parts that we liked. And then the last thing to happen instrumentally was the organ part that's on there. And I played that, and it's just kind of thickens up, puts a little background to some of the parts. And you can hear during the chorus, it's basically doing that same kind of thing, just big thick notes for the organ, but it's set back a little ways, so it's more like just an ambient layer. And then the vocals came. So vocals are generally, like the good keep vocal takes generally come last, and that's in a lot of different layers.
They were always heavy with the noise. Theirs go to 11, theirs go to 11, and they're willing to bet it. The petty quiet boys are too hip for heaven, too hip for heaven. You just wouldn't get it.
So yeah, once all of those things were in place, and the vocals, I got the vocals to where I really liked them, then we had the final result.
I remember when the best you thought that you could do was marry soon. You never even knew if you'd like kids. Don't you even look back.
Alright, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret too. Cam might not like that I'm doing this, but I'm gonna let you hear the first solo that he laid down on guitar. So this is not in the final mix. This is like the one that didn't make the mix. But I actually think it's pretty cool. So this was the original first solo in the song.
Dare look backward. He was staying in the old hotel.
Yeah, so that's a little behind the scenes. I thought it was cool. Cam actually didn't really like his solos the first time that much, and there was some consensus that maybe it was just too much. Anyway, I thought it was kind of cool. But so that's it. That is how Too Hip for Heaven became a living, breathing animal.
They were always heavy with the noise. Theirs go to 11, theirs go to 11, and they're willing to bet it. The petty quiet boys are too hip for heaven, too hip for heaven. You